Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Albina, and today we're going to be talking about Ginny and Georgia, the show. Mostly the characters, the ones that I like at least. I won't really talk about too much of the minor characters because that would be a very long video. But yeah, just the thoughts on the show in general, and I'm going to be doing my makeup in the background. This is the completed look. So yeah, Ginny and Georgia, I went in thinking that it was just your everyday teen drama type of thing. I didn't really read the summary when I went into it, so I thought it was gonna be a really chill show. And it was a lot heavier than I expected, which is not a bad thing, obviously. And again, I kind of asked for it by going in without researching anything about it. But yeah, I surprisingly enough kind of enjoyed the show. If you haven't watched it before, I can give you like a very brief summary. Ginny and Georgia is about, well, Ginny and her mom, Georgia, and her little brother Austin, but obviously the main characters are the ones in the title, and it really focuses on the two of them, like their mother-daughter relationship, as well as how like their lives are going. Ginny being constantly moved around because her mom constantly moves, and how that affects her, like how it's hard to like not have friends, and it's like their first time settling down kind of in an area. And then there's Georgia, who has been through everything and trying her best to be best mother in terms of protecting her children. In terms of it being a lot heavier than expected, besides like the mother-daughter relationship and trying to fit in high school, and her mom trying to find her place in this new town, which is like everyone's like really rich, it's a private school, and it's very different from the type of lifestyles that they had, kind of, especially because again, Ginny never had made friends before. But there's a lot of other drama going on. There's like more characters in the background that Ginny's friends with, and like adult characters that Georgia ends up meeting. Also talks about Austin, Ginny's younger brother, well, younger half brother, I think, and how it's hard for him to fit in as well because he's seen as like the weird kid in school, and he's like really young. I don't remember what grade he's in. I always think that he's in like kindergarten, but I'm like 100% sure that they're older than that. I think I'm gonna go in more in the show, so if you want to just like watch it with like zero spoilers, you know, might not want to listen to this part until you're done watching the show. Ginny and Georgia covers a lot of topics that I didn't think, like obviously it talks about the regular ones of like friendship and how important friendship is for people in high school, how to make friends, how to try to be a good friend, I guess, which is still a work in progress, I feel like, throughout the show. It also talks about like mental illness, like depression or ED, and like a lot of other like more dark topics that a lot of teens may go through. It also talks a lot about like crime because if you have watched the show, Georgia has committed murder more than once, even though it is usually to protect her children. Georgia has gone to a lot of extreme methods to make sure that her kids are safe. It's hard because you can see both sides. For one, like she's doing what she thinks is necessary to keep them safe. Is there a different way of doing it? Maybe, but there's no guarantee that it would work out, and she's just trying her best. So as someone who went in, again, not really expecting much, I guess I was surprised with how much like storyline and serious topics that the show covered. And I think that they may have bitten off more than they could chew. I see a lot of commentary on how their plotline about racism, as because Ginny is biracial, she's half black and half white. I feel like I see a lot of comments about how like that could have been approached better, or how sometimes it seemed very forced. Another thing that goes on is amidst all of like this drama and heavy topics, like 1 second Ginny finds out that her mom killed someone or something, and then you have like this whiplash because the next scene it's probably about her friends and how like they're going through a lot because Max, her best friend, got rejected by some girl. And it's a bit of whiplash because you have like some really adult serious problems, and then you have like something that is really serious, especially when you're a teenager. You get rejected, it means the world to you, but you get like a problem like that, which is so different in like level of life or death situations. That is kind of wild. So I'm not going to be able to go over everything that happens in the show since, again, I did binge watch 2 seasons at once, so let's just say my memory of it may be a little bit hazy. But I will try to go over my characters, like my thoughts on them overall, starting with the main characters. So I think I've kind of put in like my opinion on them a little already. Personally, I see a lot of people hating on Ginny because they say that she is very self-absorbed, or sometimes like the decisions that she makes is very selfish, or they compare like what she's going through to her mom, who went through like domestic violence through her childhood, if you can really call it a childhood. And when I think it was either not her first husband, maybe Gil, Austin's dad, like the younger brother's dad. And obviously that is a lot, but I don't think it's really fair to compare what people are going through and kind of like gatekeep the right to be upset about something. For example, when Ginny finds out that her mom killed the ex-husband because her mom noticed that the guy was being like really creepy and showing signs that he would very much assault Ginny in the future, like she felt like that was the only way to keep her safe. And it's true, because a lot of the times it's very hard to get these cases across. Like I feel like a lot of people talk about this, how the justice system fails when it comes to protecting people from assault. And can you imagine how hard it would be to get proof of the fact that he was being a creep and like assaulting Ginny? Like it wouldn't be easy to get proof on that until it's too late. So I understand why she did it, but I also understand why Ginny can be grateful that her mom wants to protect her, that it would be something to struggle with, because essentially, of course, she's gonna feel like it's my fault that like she had to commit murder. And it's still going to be something that she has to struggle with accepting. And the fact that she has to keep it a secret from everyone, it's a really heavy burden to keep. And I think she's valid for struggling with something like that. So yeah, other things that like Ginny is very selfish in some of her actions. It's hard to really source these moments, but I guess one of them would be dating Hunter, but having feelings for Marcus. As somebody who's watched a lot of more trashy dramas, honestly, the way Ginny acted wasn't that bad. Listen, like I watched shows like Awkward, in which the character was literally juggling between like 5 different cheating relationships at the same time. It was bad. It was a hard watch. So it was hard to watch how Ginny treated Hunter. He did not deserve what he went through. I know that Ginny was going through a lot, and I feel like a lot of the time the reason that she dated Hunter in the first place was, I don't know if it's really giving her like credit, but it felt like she almost felt pressured to do so. From the very start, Max talked about how, oh my god, like I think Hunter likes you or something. But I never noticed like Ginny liking Hunter. Sure, liking him as a person, like liking the fact that he's a popular guy, but versus like how her and Marcus were, like the chemistry between those two seemed a lot more legitimate to me. It genuinely felt like very performative. And like, yes, he's a great and nice guy, but I don't feel like just because he's like a stable and nice guy, like that means that she has to be in a relationship with him. I blame her for how she acted. I feel like if she doesn't have feelings for him, she should have never accepted to be his girlfriend. But let's be honest here, a lot of the teen dramas that I watch, like American teen dramas, they always have that cheating subplot. I don't understand why. It pisses me off. But another spoiler, if you haven't watched both seasons, at least she's consistent. She does end up choosing Marcus. She actually loves Marcus. She doesn't. I was really worried, like after finishing the first season, I was like, if they do like that love triangle thing where she goes back and forth between Marcus and Hunter, I was gonna be pissed. But she didn't. She chose Marcus and she stuck with it, and I have to give her credit for that. only because it is the bare minimum, but because of all the other shows that I watched, that does not happen within the first 2 seasons, I swear. In season 2, a lot of people blamed that she didn't even notice that her boyfriend was going through such a terrible time. To be fair, I would like to say, yes, it was noticeable because we're the audience. And I see this argument as well a lot from people like on Reddit or like in comment discussions or whatnot. She was also going through a lot. I believe that was around the time when Gil was really showing his true colors. The point is, I feel like a lot of the characters in this show, they are all going through a lot at the same time. So, and I think it's the same in like high school. A lot of times I remember being like, I don't understand why nobody really notices. Clearly I'm not doing well mentally and there's not really the support that I need, but I didn't really talk about it with anyone. Of course, like Ginny sees Marcus a lot more than people in high school would see me, right? But I remember being upset about that too. But the thing is that you're still like growing and maturing, and it's hard to notice what other people are going through when you're also going through a lot. Because even in the case of Max, it was really annoying because to her, like, it was just constantly every episode, her biggest problem was that she was going through rejection, and everyone else's problems were kind of ignored. I mean, you have your other friend Abby over there going through parental divorce, and she's going through ED all by herself. Side note, please, I hope that they get her help, because oh my gosh, it's so worrying. But of course you're gonna think that's everything to you. Your first love, like breakup or whatever, it does make you go through a lot, and it's easy to just think about yourself and not have the emotional capacity to notice what people are going through around you. We are all selfish sometimes, but when you can't even help yourself, when you're not doing well and things like that, it's kind of hard to be able to support someone else at the same time. I really liked that she ended up going to therapy in season 2, because yes, she needs it. It's kind of sad that obviously the main thing that she's trying to struggle with is the fact that her mom murdered somebody, and she can't really talk about that in therapy. She can only say, oh, sometimes my mom does things that seems a little bit extreme and extremely protective compared to what a normal mom would do. Georgia is different, and it's understandable because she thinks that the law is always going to fail her, and this is her way of taking justice into her own hands. But obviously Jenny is going to struggle with that because that's not something that she grew up doing, and that's not something that she deems as necessary. Overall, I think she's improving as a character, although, like as I said before, there was that really almost seeming self-centered part where she didn't notice that Marcus was going through things. I think that she approached it very maturely when they broke up, and she went up to him and said, hey, I know you're going through it. I know maybe relationship isn't what you can handle right now. If you want, like, I will be there for you regardless, even if it's just as a friend. And I think that's like a really good approach compared to how she acted in season 1 with her friends and whatnot. And I think that we're really watching the character grow and try to understand what her mom's going through, but also stand up for herself. When Georgia went to therapy with Ginny, based on like Georgia's opinion on mental health, it's a bit hard to watch. I feel like it's a very Asian mom type of vibe. And seeing that Georgia try to understand what Ginny is going through and starting to trust Ginny with more things and realizing that she can't just always protect her from the outside world, I feel like that relationship maturing was really good to watch. Obviously, there's still gonna be fights, there's still gonna be bad times. The show still has 2 more seasons, you know what I'm saying? But I'm glad with the direction that it's taking. So next we have Georgia. I think it's easier for me to talk about Ginny because in terms of emotional maturity, I can understand her a bit more because it's something I've gone through. I'm not a mom. I don't really understand the type of life that Georgia had to live through. I think when I was watching her, I did find her like really cool. She gave off, I guess, I don't want to say Bonnie and Clyde energy because she didn't really have a partner in crime. It was all her. And I really admired how much she loves her children and what she goes through to protect them. Especially at the age of 15, being a teen mom that sounds terrifying. It's something that I used to be scared of. I remember when I hit 20, we were like, oh my gosh, we survived, we're not pregnant. I admire how strong of a person she is. Even if sometimes it's very hard for Ginny to understand. It seems almost like her mom doesn't have any emotions, but she has to be like that. Otherwise, I don't think she would survive. If she felt guilty for every single thing that she did, yeah, they wouldn't have made it as far as they are now. I think Georgia was a very stressful watch because a lot of the things that she did, like, you could feel that it was going to catch up to her. It was like a dog pile of stuff, like stealing from the mayor's office, but she likes the mayor. Like, what's going to happen when he finds out? And then the private investigator on their tail and her provoking him. It's just, you could feel like stuff was going to happen and could not see how that was all going to work out. I'm glad that season 1 wrapped up without her getting arrested. It's interesting because although she's like that, I also found myself really rooting for her to not get caught almost. I guess, well, yeah, because she's the main character. I do like how she tried to open her heart to actually caring and loving someone, i.e. Paul. And not really just, like, I was worried because initially I really thought she only saw him as a status symbol. Like, sure, she cared about him, but I didn't feel like it was love. So I was a little worried and iffy about it. I'm happy to see how she's growing. It's unfortunate she is arrested right now, and it did really stress me out when I saw that, because I was like, oh my god, are you joking? After everything is turning out so well, of course they have to hit us with a classic arrest. I think it's really good to watch how Georgia starts to trust people a bit more and try to understand her daughter better. I think one of my favorite parts was how she acted after they went to therapy together, and I do feel like it was a good move because she started being a lot more honest with Ginny. And I really liked when she told Ginny, hey, I always grew up thinking that when people are vulnerable, it's not a good thing. But I feel like it's a good thing for you. Like, I don't think you're weak or anything like that. I think it's good that you feel emotions, I guess, basically. I feel like Georgia grew. She stopped running away from her problems as much, which I almost wish she did in the most recent episode, but we can't always have what we want. For Georgia, things that I do hope to see in the next seasons, besides like having a better relationship with Ginny and hopefully getting out of jail, I hope that she has a better opinion on therapy. I understand when she believes that she doesn't want Austin to get therapy because she's worried about the labels that people will put on him, but I think Austin really needs it, and a very good plot point that I hope in the next season is that Austin gets therapy, because oh my god, the boy has gone through so much, and even from the start it was clear that constantly moving was having a direct impact on him. In terms of the other characters, I guess I'll just go through them quickly. This video will be very long if I try to go in depth about my opinions on every single character. So, in the friend group of Mang, Nora has negative screen time. A lot of people talk about the fact that she has no character arc, and I hope that that gets brought up. The only character point that she has mostly is following along with what everyone else does in the friend group and having a boyfriend of 3 years. In terms of Abby, we know that she is going through ED and her parents' divorce, and she's having a very hard time. I didn't like how she was in the beginning of the show because she just let Ginny take all of the blame for shoplifting, because oh my gosh, we both know that Ginny only did that to fit in, and although people will say that's very immature, Ginny's 16, let's be real here. For someone who's never had friends, like permanent friends, of course you're going to do anything you want to fit in. She kind of grew on me. At first I thought like she was kind of an awful character, but after understanding what she was going through, I hope that she also gets some help, because obviously ED is a very serious thing to go through, and the fact that nobody is noticing, it does make me very sad. Like, obviously she hides it well, and I'm not gonna blame anyone for not noticing, but I really hope that eventually it's something that's touched upon. Another thing about Abby is her self-esteem, her being in that relationship with, was it Preston? I don't know, he's such a terrible guy. I really hope that she stopped, because like, oh my god, he's so bad to her. And then for Max was someone that I genuinely really did not like at the beginning of the show. I found her very self-absorbed, and my worst worst nightmare because I am more introverted and she is very loud and she'd exhaust me. I think overall the Meng friend group really rubbed me the wrong way because of how they give off very mean girl vibes. Not in a good way. I mean, come on. The hate you kidding, love you mean it thing was it just sounds like such a mean girl moment. And like, I'm just scared of people like that, to be honest. So that's like a personal thing against Meng. I don't honestly think they're that bad. I do like Ginny's other friend group better with Bracia. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong because they seem like, I mean, it's just biased. They're just people that with their values of doing well in school and whatnot, those are things that I would relate to a lot more. They seem a lot less drama heavy, but then again, Meng is the sole focus, so of course we're gonna see all the drama there and everyone's rooting for each other, and I really like that friend group. But seeing Max root for Bracia and her relationship with, oh my god, I forgot the guy's name, I think that's good, and I think Max is changing for the better. I think all the characters are growing. As I said before, they start out at like, I don't know, 16, so I think they're gonna mature a lot more. I guess I'll talk about Hunter. I'm gonna ignore the other boys in the group because they're not really there. I don't know how else to explain it. Hunter was so boring to me. I don't hate him. I mean, I was honestly surprised that popular kid who's just nice and there's like zero red flags about him other than he seemed very, I just couldn't understand his character. I feel like he wasn't really talked about much. Sure, we see him being a good person, but that's about it. Like, he's such a flat character at the beginning. His argument with Ginny before the breakup was very hard for me to watch. I skipped part of it because, well, you guys, like when people are racist towards you, it's like a good way because like everyone says that you're like really smart or whatever because you're Asian and stuff like that. That pissed me off. The entire thing was hard to watch. Both of them were just throwing racial stereotypes at each other, and yeah, I just did not enjoy watching that. There's a lot of people who say that they did it really badly. Obviously, that argument should have been handled a lot better. Hunter should have never said the things that he did to Ginny, and Ginny should have never said the things that she said to Hunter. It was hard. I did not like it. Other than that, I think Hunter is a very mature character. I think he's very stable, and it's a good thing. I just don't find him very interesting because of it, which is not bad. But with a show filled with drama, I feel like he's someone that can be very easily overlooked. I feel like the way that he forgives Ginny taking the high road, and it was hard to watch when Marcus got kind of assimilated to the friend group for like 2 episodes. But I feel like Hunter was really mature in that situation with letting Marcus fit in and being very mature enough to not just constantly try to pursue Ginny after she made the choice. I don't blame him if he didn't want to hang out with them anymore. Can you imagine how hard it is to watch your first love just be with the guy that she cheated on you with? That's awful. Some people may say that your standards are very low, but let's be real here. Male characters in drama shows like this tend to be quite awful. I feel like from the start, their relationship, as I said before, I feel like him and Ginny's relationship seemed very forced, and it really felt like Ginny just dated him to fit in. Of course she liked him as a person, but I don't think she ever really loved him. Marcus, on the other hand, I don't know. At first he really annoyed me, but then trying to understand him a bit more, I feel like he made some very questionable decisions in terms of how she acted with Ginny. A lot of things could be done better if we just be honest to each other, but again, teen drama, what do you expect? I think that he had improved, and seeing him going through that depressive episode, I hope he gets better, I guess. It's very hard to watch, and I do care for him as a character. I hate that Georgia was so harsh to him. Like, I understand why she was. I hate that she was like, you're just gonna hold her back. Like, you have to let go of her. It's fine if you guys are together as like a first love in high school, but you're just gonna drag her down because you're clearly troubled. That really annoyed me because of course that's going to hurt him badly because he knows that he's not like the best person, but I want to believe that he can improve. I don't want it to be like, oh, I can change you from Ginny, but I do want him to improve as a person for himself. Finally, I guess I'll talk about the love interest surrounding Georgia, or friendships in general. I do like the friendship that she has with the guys next door. I totally did not just forget their names. In terms of love interest, I guess, to go over briefly, personally, I have never been very interested in Paul, and I do think that they should be together. I'm not saying like there's anything bad about Paul, but there's just not much that I have to say about him. In terms of Joe, honestly, I was really hyped. I really liked the fact that they knew each other from when they're younger, and that Georgia specifically chose the place to live because she remembered that Joe was from there, and it seemed like he was a nice kid. I don't know, but I do like the storyline of them meeting years afterwards. It is sad that they don't end up together, but I think it's very valid because I feel like Georgia is a very ambitious person, and maybe Joe isn't ambitious enough in her opinion. I really like Zion. Do I think that he's a great dad? I don't know. Traveling so much and stuff, it's kind of hard to root for him. I would understand why Georgia would be pissed. It's kind of like, oh, I raised you my whole life, and this guy that's barely around when you were growing up, you always choose him over me. That type of mentality I feel like was a bit there. But I do like Zion. His personality just always made me happy, but he gave me the vibe of someone that just comes into your life like a tornado and then disappears just as quickly. And something that temporary, I think, as a family would be very hard to deal with. For Zion, I really cannot forgive him his promise to Ginny that they're going to be a big family again, and that not happening, or the fact that him and Georgia ended up sleeping together when that is exactly what Ginny was always afraid of. That was hard to watch, but I feel like him being in his daughter's life again and him taking Ginny to slam poetry thing, or no, the poetry thing was really cool. And when he said his poetry about him being there for Ginny, yeah, it made me cry a little. I really like the guy. I feel like some of his decisions are not it, but he usually makes me happy when he shows up on screen. And his relationship with Paul as like co-parenting is pretty funny to watch sometimes. I think my favorite one was like when all three of them, I hate Gil by the way, but when Gil, Zion, and Paul were all in the room at the same time, and then after after Gil leaves, Paul was saying like, oh, we don't like him, do we? And then Zion's like, nope, we don't like him. It's just really funny to me sometimes to watch them bonding. It's so awkward but comical yet real at the same time. And I'm glad that they're getting along instead of being jealous assholes fighting over Georgia and just trying to be there for the kids. And the fact that they both mean well, now Ginny has two kind of dads, is really interesting to watch. Yeah, so sum it up, I guess, because I finished my look. I honestly liked Ginny and Georgia. It was what I needed when I was binge watching it. It was distracting me from just being in a not so good place. Storyline was really interesting. I would recommend you watched it, but I hope you already watched it if you're watching this video because I spoiled like everything. Well, not everything, but you get the point. Again, it's a lot heavier. As some people say, they're trying to do heavy topics like Euphoria level heavy topics sometimes, as well as slice of life at the same time. I do feel like it's a bit jarring, but for me personally, I think it was what I was looking for. I didn't think I would be into the show at first, but because I thought it was going to be like a very mother-daughter woohoo relationship show without showing much of each of their lives, but it did. It had the high school drama, but it also had the life drama and pure what the heck chaos going on in the background. And it had the humor because it was so in the weirdest times. It actually made me laugh out loud. I would never put it in the same category as Never Have I Ever or Awkward, which please do not watch Awkward unless you want to be extremely annoyed with the early 2000s writing. I also wouldn't put it in the same category as Euphoria because I feel like it's not as heavy, or if it is heavy, it's like in a very different way because there's a lot more slice of life going on. I would put it somewhat in between its own category. But yeah, if you have watched it, let me know what you think. I know this video is a bit chaotic because I always find it hard to summarize things, but I also really want to talk about the characters more of than the summary of the show, because if you've already watched it, what's the point of the summary, right? Even though I like to watch a lot of show summaries on YouTube. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you wanted to have more of just the makeup tutorial, I have also uploaded one of that on TikTok. I might consider putting it on YouTube Shorts, but we'll see. Hope you liked the video, and thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment if you want me to try a different makeup look or review a different show. It might be a while before I binge watch a show the way that I did for Georgia and Ginny, but I have watched a lot of like teen shows. I have watched Never Have I Ever, but I don't feel like I recall the plot line enough right now to make a review of it. I would really appreciate if you leave a comment, like, or subscribe. And thank you. I will see you next week. Bye-bye now.